Hello, everyone, and welcome to another inspiring conversation with Lesson in Everyday, where we believe every day brings a lesson, every journey holds purpose, and every voice has the power to uplift someone else. Today, we are truly honored to welcome a remarkable woman of vision, leadership, and faith, Debbie Simmons, CEO of Anchor Point and widely known as the Legacy Architect. She's the creator of the Architecture of Trust, a leadership perspective that helps individuals and organizations build strong, sustainable environments where people can thrive. With decades of experience serving families, educators, and communities, she brings wisdom, compassion, and a deep commitment to helping others lead with clarity and courage. And so today we're going to dive in and explore a powerful and meaningful topic, becoming and overcoming. So, Miss
Hi,
Debbie, how are you
glad to
doing
be with
today?
you. Yeah.
Um, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a Friday. It's a good day when we're taping. We're
Yes. First, I want you to share with us, where are you located right now?
sure. I'm in Houston, Texas. My husband works for NASA, and so we're kind of right down here by Mission Control.
All right, and, we're just so honored to have you on this platform. And before we get started, I just wanna tell the audience, I've had the honor and pleasure of speaking with her prior to, and I have learned I don't wanna say everything about her story, but a lot of her story is very inspirational, it's very powerful. I actually started, following your platform and just the phenomenal work that you're doing. I honor that. And
Mm,
to bring in, faith in what you're doing is amazing.
mhm.
So, my first question is going to be about your journey, give you an opportunity to share about your story so that everyone can hear what you've probably shared with me already. So, of course, we know that every overcomer has a story. Can you
Mhm.
share a moment in your life when you face a significant challenge and what helped you find the way as
Sure.
the strength to push
Yeah.
through and keep moving?
Yeah. So I would tell you everybody has a journey like you said, and I would say I usually tell people, well, buckle up. Mine has lots of highs, lots of lows, and God has been there through it all. Um,
Yes.
for me, one of the things that I had as a young teenager, I really wanted I had this idea that I wanted to be this young grandma. And so I was like, okay, in order to do that, because I'm a to do person, I'm like, I need to find a guy, fall in love, get married, have children, and then I can be a young grandma. And I set out just to do just that, okay? I didn't like it wasn't like on my mind all the time, but when I went to college, I found a guy, we fell in love, and I did get my degree. That my mom thought that was a good idea, and then we got married, and that was wonderful. And then something we didn't expect happened. We ended up
Yeah.
with infertility for years, and that really was a challenge to who I was as a person, my value. Um, I felt like a failure as a potential mom and wife and all this stuff. And I just really struggled through that. And through some fertility medicine, we did get pregnant in the very end, and we got pregnant with twins. And around 13 weeks, I started to miscarry and was bleeding
Mm,
everywhere, and they rushed me to the hospital, and, we went to the high-risk doctor that next Monday, and the high-risk doctor, told us we weren't having twins, we were actually having quads. So 4 babies all at once, and whatever control or I thought I'd figured out with 2, it was like my whole world turned upside down. And
yeah.
every day became a huge journey to make it to the next day and to make it to the next day. And so, we had been Christians since we were children and had
Mm,
loved Jesus. And this was the really first big thing that challenged us to really learn to trust him. and that my identity, with infertility, that my identity is not based on how I perform. It's based on who Christ says I am. And then to learn every day, every moment of that pregnancy in a high risk situation is a challenge, and it's like, okay, God, I'm trusting you today. I'm trusting you today. I'm trusting you today. This went on every day, right? And
Yeah.
our goal was to get them to 30 weeks so that their lungs would be developed enough. And at 26 weeks, I got up one morning and was standing in a pool of water and
Wow.
realized that one of the baby's sacks had broke. And so they took me to the hospital. Now they were going to not only take me to, I was like, I'm going to prison because they're taking me to the hospital and they're going to put me in a bed and they're going to tell me I can't get out of it until I have the kids. And I'm like, I got to make it to 30 weeks, right? So I'm going a month in the bed. I'm like,
Wow.
this is jail. And so they took me to the hospital and put me in the bed. And the next morning, um, the one of the babies stuck their hand out my stitched cervix and waved to the world and said, "Hello, I'm coming." And I was
Wow.
like, "This is not good. This is not good." And I'm looking at the doctor and I'm like, "Okay, you can't we just stop this, push that hand back, and forget that this ever happened? Just stop time. Just stop everything." And
Yeah.
she looked at me and she shook her head, no, and that I was going to have to deliver this baby. And my husband asked the question of, "What about the other three?" And she said, "We'll have to see what happens." And so I went into surgery, came back, and a little while later, little Zach came along. And when little Zach came along, they put him in my arms, and I held him, and I rocked him, and I loved him until he drifted off into eternity.
Wow.
Um, and then we waited with empty arms.
Yeah.
And what was gonna happen, and we had to see what my body would do. Could my body keep the other 3 or would it reject them? And we waited several
Yes.
hours and I got really, really bad fever, my blood work was a mess, and the doctor quietly came back in the room and put her hand on my shoulder and said, "You have to induce." And I looked up at her just like, "Is there any just sliver of hope?" And she just
Yeah.
shook her head no again, and I breathed and I resolved again to figure my way through. And a couple hours later, Josh and then Nate and then Chris each came and they placed them in my arms and I held them and I rocked them and I loved them till they drifted into eternity. Um, and then we sat. Empty arms, broken hearts, at the end of a very long day, and I remember clearly in the there was so much peace in all of that, which is really
Wow.
weird, but there was so much peace, but I remember at the end of the day, I was thinking, "How in the world this is too hard." I'm like, "How do people get
Yeah.
through this?" You don't go to the hospital and go planning funerals. You plan births, and I'm like, I now, and it's not one, it's four. It's my dream. It's the way to my dream of being this young grandma, right?
Yes.
And I am a person that can usually accomplish whatever I want, and here I am. I can't do anything. It's completely outside of my control. And I just sat there and I was like, "How do you get through this?" I don't even know how to do this. And I, thought through everything I could think of, and I always kept coming back to, I'm just gonna have to trust God. I'm
Yes.
just gonna have to trust him.
Mhm.
And so I was like, "Okay, God, I'm gonna trust you. I don't know what this means, but I'm gonna trust you." And I just put a stake in the ground. And I don't know if it's because of all the years involved in this and the infertility and learning to walk with him each step of the pregnancy, to just it was easy to put the stake in the ground that night. I know it's not always easy for people to do that then, but I did. And but I was like, I don't uh, what do you do? I just, and God was gracious enough to me to teach me something in that moment, which was extremely valuable and I use today. And what he whispered in my ear was, "I need you to give me your why question." And I was
Mm,
like, "Uh, no. I am not giving you my why question." I said, "I want the why answer, because if I have the answer to my why question, I can figure this out.
yeah.
Whatever justification, it'll make it all right. I'll figure my way." And he's like, "Give me the why question." And I'm like, "No, you took everything else. Everything else is gone. The boys are gone. This is gone. No, this is the last thing I have to hold on to." And he kept on. And, you don't win with God. So I'm like, you got to submit. Right. And so
Yes.
finally I was like, "Fine, I'll give you my why question." And I was like, "Now what do I do?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Ask me a different question." And I was like, "I don't know what to ask you." And he said, "Ask me, how do I survive?" And
Wow.
so that's the question I started asking. How do I survive? I don't know how to survive. I want to survive. How do I
Yeah.
survive? And he taught me to two things. One is to breathe, because when you're breathing, one, you're alive, and two, it puts you in your prefrontal cortex, which is where you make logical decisions, not your emotional
Yeah.
part of your brain. Okay.
Yeah.
And the second part of that was, okay, now that I'm in the logical part of my brain, what's the next best step I can take?
Mhm.
Okay. Doesn't matter what it is. What is the next best step? Not the next right step, because the right step paralyzes us because we're going, is that right? Is that not right? So, whatever the next best step is, take that step. So I just began to do that out of faith and obedience. I would take the step, and then God would meet me there and shine a light so I could figure out what the next step was. And I did this thousands and thousands and thousands of times, and I've done it for 30 plus years since then. And what I found was that that was the process for moving toward healing. Why? Okay, so let's say I would have gotten the answer to my why question. You know, if I was really honest, the answer to my why question, as soon as God would have finished talking, I would have gone, "Well, why? Because that ain't a good
Mhm.
enough, that's not a good enough answer. Your
Yeah.
answer stinks." And it doesn't bring my kids back, and it doesn't solve my pain. And
Yeah.
so that's why the why question had to be laid down, because it's a very internal question for all of us. And it causes us to pull away from God, and it causes us to pull away from the help that we have. And we begin to shrink inward more and more and more. And he was like, "I don't want you to do that. I want you to thrive. So we're going to have to let that go." And in letting that go, the positive movement forward in the next step, he can always work with that, and especially if we are willing to keep our hands open, he can guide us one direction or another, right? And
Yeah.
so that is what he's done, and, what I found was I started to learn how to survive, and then I was realizing, "Oh, I'm getting better," and I was like, "Okay, God, you say that you're a redeemer of stories, and so I wanna know not just how do I survive, but how do I thrive?"
Yeah.
And in that, when I go, "Here's my story, make something beautiful of this pain, and use it for your glory and your purpose and impact people with it." Then he began to give me opportunities to work with people who had lost children, or work with families. And eventually it led us to adoption. So adopting 9 children. And then God
Wow.
planted this seed to start a ministry called Anchor Point, which impacts thousands of people every year. And it's like, I wasn't on the radar, but I'm like, okay, whatever we're building. And now the coaching and all the stuff that I get to do, the book that we authored, all of those things come out of that very painful loss. And my boy's legacy lives on through the life that I choose to live. And now I'm going, okay, I want to leave a legacy when I'm done. So I better live it
Yeah.
now. And so getting the opportunity to do, someone asked me last night, I was at one of our fundraisers, and a lady said, "Do you ever sit back and just go, wow, look at everything you got to do, and how God used
Yeah.
you?" And I said, "Yeah, it's super cool." And like seeing these kids and the impact in these kids, and they're 16 years old. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're here because I built it. God let me build this. But I told her, I said, one of the really cool things is now as I get older is I'm like, I'm excited that if we can build Anchor Point in such a way that it can live past me, which is what I wanna do, is I wanted to
Mhm.
continue to be here making a difference, all this good stuff, then I will get to stand by Jesus and go, "Oh, look, there's another person going to Anchor Point." And
Yeah.
look at him and go, "You let me be a part of that. That was so cool," and so I go, "This is what is exciting about the next level of leaving a legacy is figuring out how to make it work, without me, so that it can be here for many, many decades to come." So that's my story.
I love it. And as you were speaking, you touched on a lot.
Mhm,
Hope, being resilient, and even in your story with trust. And so I want to talk about trust for a minute because Proverbs 3, I think 3:5,
mhm,
says, "Trust in the Lord with all the heart and lean not on our own understanding." Right, and so trust is really big. And I believe a lot of what goes on, not just even as a believer, but just in life, right? A
mhm.
lot of people have a challenge with trust. And your story honestly goes into, I have nothing else but to trust God.
Yeah,
And and to share that, and not only are you bringing it from your personal stance, but you're putting this into the business industry. You're putting this into your work,
mhm,
which is your ministry.
mhm,
The architecture of trust and anchor point. That's not just what you do. That's not just your business. This became your ministry. And
mhm.
so I love how you recently posted something. I can't quote it, but you'll know what I'm talking about. When you kind of change your platform from as a leader, right, into I have to stay obedient to God.
Mhm.
And so, could you tell us in so many words, how with what you're doing, especially like the architecture of trust, how do
Mhm.
you help others develop the mindset and confidence that they're needing, to overcome like obstacles in not just their personal, but even with their faith walk in their business?
Sure. Well, first of all, let's get Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, okay? Because it says, "Trust in
Yes,
the
and you.
Lord."
I was gonna say we have
Yeah.
to go on to if someone
But
reads it, you have to read.
here's the deal about 6, okay? 6 says, "And he shall direct your paths,"
Yeah.
okay? Not singular, plural. Okay, your past, which means that goes back to that your next best step. We don't have to worry about like it has to be a singular right thing, okay? Because
Yeah.
if we hold our hands open, God is going to direct those things and shift us around where we need to be. So we don't have to, I love the fact that it's plural there so that we
Yeah.
go, okay, God, because He's not really worried about what we do for a career. He's like, I'm in that. I'm over here, I'm in that, I'm in that, and so
Mhm.
here's the thing that I think that, holds us back from walking out our faith really, really well, and that is that we forget that we perform for an audience of one, okay? Everything that we do is for God, and the
Yeah.
results are up to God. Okay. So I
Mhm.
don't have to worry about any of that. I just need to go, okay, Daddy God, what is it you want me to do? And how do you want me to do it? And everything else is up to Him. Think about we just lose this childlike faith. Kids go,
Yep.
you go get
Uh,
dressed and we're going. And the kids are like, great. And I have a grandkid. He never thinks about the fact that he might not have food. He's like, I'm hungry. And
mhm.
some big adult goes, okay, sit down, and he goes, great. This is wonderful. And
Yeah.
we lose that ability as we get older unless we continually remind ourselves of that. So that's the first thing is I think
Okay.
this idea of, I'm really only performing for an audience of one. And God, if I do my absolute best, I keep my eyes on you, you're going to handle all the rest of it. Because we have plenty of missionaries and stuff that go on the mission field that have gone and that they
Mhm.
have died or they've gone and they served for years and years and years, seeing no fruit And I guarantee you, when that guy gets to heaven, God goes, well done, good and faithful servant. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm going, okay, let's put down all the prizes that we have here on earth that we're trying to go after, money, acceptance, all those
Right.
things, and just go, who am I performing for today? And how do you want me to do it? And God,
Yeah.
I want you to be in all of that. So I think for me, that's taken a lot of pressure off of me is, or it's not only taken pressure off me, it's also made me bold and courageous a lot of
I
times to
love
go,
it.
okay, God, you got this. And I am the faith person in our family. My husband's a little bit more, and I'm like, hey, look, God said go do this. So we just need to jump off this mountain and we're going. And my husband's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, the journey is going to be great. It is only the landing that's a problem if God doesn't show up. And I said, he shows up every time. So let's go. And he's like, oh my gosh. And off we go. But God's shown up every time. Every
Yeah.
time. I guarantee you, as a couple, we should be broke. We should be destitute. All these things for all the crazy things that God's had us do in our lives. And I'm going, no, he's taking care of us all the time. I didn't understand how he would, but he has, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm like, that's wild to me. And so I'm going, okay, God. So the more we do that with little things, the more we get willing to do it with bigger things. And that's
Yeah.
why it's the next best step, next best step, next best step. Because I realize that if I have to have the end game, which I used to have, like, okay, I need to know what's going to happen. Uh,
Yeah.
my journey doesn't ever turn out like I plan it. I just gave that up a long time ago. And I'm like, okay, what are we doing today? What are we doing today? I don't know what we're doing, but let's do whatever we're doing today. And I'm going, that's a much better way to live because, we can use my planning or I can use the creator of the universe's planning. And
Yeah.
his planning is way better than mine, right? And so
Yes.
I'm going, okay, I don't have to have the end game anymore. I'll just say yes before you ever tell me. That took a long time to get there, but I'm a yes girl now. And so that's a wonderful place to be. But here's how you kind of know what you're trusting. Okay.
Yeah.
We all as believers would say, yes, we trust God, right? Of course we
Mhm.
would, right? That's a great thing to want to do that. All right. Now, the way we know whether that is 100% true or not is, you know what? In life, the pressure is going to go up in different places.
Whew.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. When the pressure goes up, what you and I need to do is watch how we respond. Okay. So I had a
Absolutely.
situation. This just happened last night. Okay. I
Okay.
had a situation where I had a child that has moved back in my house that isn't is an adult child and is not communicating with me the way they should be. Just as open communication, meaning they're off doing something, it's late at night. I'm wondering if they're coming home. So mother
Yeah.
hen, because it's my house, is going, is something wrong? And I can't turn
Mm.
my brain off, right? And I'm going, why aren't you communicating with me? And
Mhm.
nothing bad was happening, but in my mind. And so, you know, I could have easily just said, okay, God, I just trust you with this and you kind of lead me what to do. Instead, I'm like, everything in my body is like, I got to get control of this situation. 'Cause I can't, where are you? Why are you there? Why are you not here? And
Yeah.
why aren't you communicating? And I want to control it, right? So my trust is not in God. My trust at that moment is in controlling the situation. So a lot of us
Mm.
will use things like control or hustle or silence, or we'll just abandon the project or whatever it is. And so this is what happens when our pressure goes up. Okay. Those things that we begin to do instead of trusting God are things that we learned earlier in life and have successfully gotten us to where we are now. Okay? So they're not bad things. So but
Yeah.
so let's talk about why do I feel the need to control? Okay, if you look at my story and what I just shared, part of the reason I feel I need to control is because remember, with infertility and with my
Right.
boys, I had no control.
Mhm.
Okay. So to survive, I've learned to control, right? Okay. And that's not bad. It just won't let me go to the next level. Okay. So God is gracious enough to say, okay, Debbie, I need you to trust me, let go of your control, and let's put in some systems or things in place that help you fall into trust more naturally. And then let's test it again. All right. And so the next time, maybe I've talked with my son and we've come up with a plan that he's going to text me, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
the next time he's not here, I get the text. It's great. The next time I don't get the text, and what do I do? Do I default into trust mode again? Or do I trust the system and trust God and ask God to show me what is it I need to do in this situation? So you see how I can begin to learn in that situation
Yeah.
to rely more on Him. And sometimes He has me do the exact opposite of what I would like to do at the moment. And do I really trust that, or do I have to step in and control? So I think the challenge this is a challenge about control and hustle and all these things that we do by default is that oftentimes the world tells us those are the good things to do. Okay. And I've
I agree.
controlled and
Yep.
hustled my way to success over and over and over again. Right. And that was fine as long as I could show up at 100%. So I got an injury about 5 years ago that totally derailed me. And that began to show us in my organization where there were cracks, where I had controlled and hustled and solved all the problems. And my organization couldn't grow and continue to grow if I continue to manage that way. Right. And so leaks,
Amen.
we call them trust leaks, began to show up. And that's not a problem.
That's
It's
good.
just a
Yeah.
sign. And that gives us the ability to adjust and put leaders in place or put structure in place to make it better. And then we figure out in the organization how to take it to the next level because we know we can trust the systems that we've got. So I think, audience of one is God, and then going, what am I really trusting? And God can't take me to the next level unless my eyes are on Him and my trust is fully in Him. Then all these other things are just warning lights that go, you need to make an adjustment.
Yeah. And so, that's good. I love this. So I'm gathering, from what you were saying is, what trust looks like and putting trust in God is you're not gonna always know all the details,
You
but
will
when you,
never know all
yeah,
the details.
you,
Just
but,
give
but
that
you,
up.
he as you follow and as you build in your faith journey with him, as you lean more in towards, his direction, his guidance, and you're just
Mhm,
trusting him, you like you say, you increase your faith, right? On your
mhm.
journey, you increase your faith walk. And not only that, but trusting him literally looks like with everything, every
Yeah,
area and every aspect, because you went from, the mother and CEO, being a director, like all of these things. And in every area, all I hear is you saying, God, I'm putting all of this in your hand and I'm trusting you in all the areas. And so that's something I definitely want to encourage people, because becoming an overcomer means that not just overcoming obstacles, but how do I overcome, where doubt comes in? How do I overcome in that area of where, when I'm trying to control? How do I overcome that? And that looks like me just letting go and trusting God, because for one, God will never fail you. He's not
mhm.
going to leave you, and he will never steer you wrong. Like, he's God and
The
he
creator
has
of
the
the
plan.
universe.
Right. He already said in his word that, he knows the plan that he has for you, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like lean in, trust him. And it sounds like, honestly, even with you trusting him, from your personal life, it spills over to your business life. And all you're saying is, God, move. I heard you say that the areas you should be lacking, like even if it's food on a table, or, how we're gonna survive in this season or whatnot. It's almost as if you just wipe that away and you said, God, I trust you. You did it before. I know you're gonna do it again.
Mhm.
And so that's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this. Is there anything, I know you shared a lot with us, but is there one particular thing that you would share with us specifically to becoming an overcomer?
Yes, and so here's what God's been doing with me lately is when I'm hit with this is like when I'm hit with something that I didn't expect or whatever, does this naturally roll out of me? Okay, God, you're not surprised by this. So I'm surprised by this, but you're not surprised by
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
And so how are we getting through this? I mean, like, this is the dialogue that you and I want to have with God on a regular basis to literally go, you're not surprised by this. So what do I need to know? And what do I
yeah.
need to do?
Hmm.
Okay. That's the default. God is looking to us to be honest with him. Okay, that's confession. God, I'm overwhelmed right now. God,
Yeah,
I'm struggling right now. God, I'm mad at you right now. Whatever truth is, okay, he wants to hear us say it, all right, because he can work with that. Okay. And then, you know, repentance is really us asking God what he wants us to know about something and then doing it.
yeah,
Okay. So I want to naturally go to God and go, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. You're not surprised by any of this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm agitated. I'm frustrated. I'm mad, whatever it is, to tell him the truth. And then he's like what would you do with a 2-year old? You put him in your lap and you go, okay, let me show you. Okay. I got this. And here's the next thing you're going to do.
hmm,
And I'm like, so I need to know that I can do this, that I just need to keep my eyes on you, that you are going I mean, like, I'm talking about, like, big things, like, I got a lawsuit the other day, and I'm like, "I don't know what the heck to do with that,"
yeah,
and I'm like, "God, what do I do?" And he's like, "Go talk to the lawyer." I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh, that's a great idea," and then what's the next step, and what's the next step, and what's the next step? But we have to get into this is about talking to him all the time and going, I
yeah,
don't understand today. I don't, when someone comes in my office and interrupts and I have this plan that I'm working right, I need to be of the mindset to go, okay, God, what are we doing here? I don't, you know why this person's coming in my office. What do I need to be aware of? What do I need to know? What do I need to do? When we live like that kind of dependence and we get that right, then God does some pretty darn amazing things that are like crazy. I mean, like, it's super cool because what I am doing is I am joining him in what he has to accomplish, right? And
yeah,
that's always a fun ride from that perspective. And so he's like, come on, follow me. I got you. And we just have to be willing to go, okay, how are we going to do this? And I don't know what I'm doing, but tell me what I'm doing and I'll do it, and then be
yeah,
brave enough to do the things he challenges us to do. That's where I think the fun is in the journey. And this is how we fall in love with the journey because it is a growth. There's always this side of heaven more growth for us to do, more
yes,
becoming like him and more impact to make. And so we don't want to miss that because the world's a better place when we're doing that.
yeah. I'm getting excited over here because it's something I stand on and I learned through therapy and just my healing journey, right? Is we're always going to be becoming. And
Yeah.
so, it's an ongoing process. And so everything you're saying, I'm just like, amen. I'm loving this. I'm loving it. And so you're giving us something that's so impactful. And one thing that I know that you were saying, that I just heard was really with God, honestly, it's never boring. I'll say because you're always going to be surprised. You don't know exactly how he's going to show up, how he's going to move today. You have the unexpected to expect. And I
Mhm,
believe that's a really good thing. That's a good
mhm,
place to be in. And another thing that you spoke on that I love was about growth.
mhm,
We are constantly growing. Every season look different, every challenge look different. In every area of our life, there's room to grow, there's room to improve. The thing that I love to say is learn to live and live to learn.
mhm,
Because it's always a teachable moment and a lesson for us to learn.
mhm.
So my next question to you is now we've given a lot to encourage everyone in the audience. And if there is someone like listening that kind of feels like, okay, life has been good at this point, but now I'm at a point where, I feel a little discouraged. I feel stuck or unsure about my future. From your personal journey and your words, what words of encouragement would you give them?
I would say if you've like reached your goals and you've done a lot of these things and you're feeling like a little frustrated, I would tell you that God is opening the door for your next season to move up, okay, and to have more impact. However, it will require you to change. Your this whole trust thing, that we were talking about and control and hustle, he's going to require. So the deal is we have to become first, okay? So we have to be first, all right? It's very interesting in the season that I'm in right now where he's moving us to the next level. He's actually having me sit stiller. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I got these things to do and all this stuff." And he's like, "I need you to be first." So
Yeah.
he's, so don't be afraid to take the time and just soak in his word and spend time talking with him because even like think about King David. King David was christened, crowned, whatever you want to call it, when he was young. Okay, he
Uh-huh.
was a young teen, okay? And then he went into obscurity for a long time. Then he went to be Saul's helper, helpmate, and then he served Saul for all these years, and then Saul terrorized him for all these years. And so you got 20, 30 years of his life that he had to become
Mhm.
before he was ready to sit on the throne. All right. So I pray that mine's not a 30-year making. However,
Right. I don't want it either.
yeah, I wanna be ready though, right? And
Yeah.
there was a lot of things that God had to build in David's heart and character and all of this stuff to get them ready to be the king that God knew he could be. And because David faithfully walked through those things and became so I would go, see where you need to grow. Look at what does it mean to keep my eye on you? What does it mean
Mhm.
to be the person that you need to be? What do you call me? What is my unique calling that you've given me? Start just digging in on those things, and then God will begin to open doors that that will take you maybe out of careers into new beginnings. It may leave you in the same job, but it's like this whole adventure opens up. And so I just have really in this season right now for me, which is one of those seasons, have been just digging in. And what I found is there's pieces in me of control and hustle that he wants to release. There's old woundedness that he's like surfacing as we walk through this. And will I do the hard work of releasing that and letting him heal those spots in me so that I can be the leader that I need to be? The other day I had a thought, oh my gosh, I got to get my house in order. Like my house is dirty. And I'm like, I got to get this thing cleaned up because this is creating stress. And I
Yeah.
don't want that stress. So I got to get structure so that it's peaceful. Right. And so I'm like, okay, I got halfway done and then this kid moved in and my house is a mess again. But I still gotta do this, right? And so I'm like, okay, how do I get that done so that I have a level of peace? Or I ask him sometimes, he's like, get this checked off, this checked off, this checked off. And it's like details that are like pulling me down and they just take some focus and I gotta put some time in to make them happen, and I gotta get over there and get those checked off so that those strings attached to me will let go, right? And I can be ready
Yeah.
for the next level, but I'm going, don't discouragement is really you just take that to God. Go, I feel discouraged and
Yeah.
ask God, what do you want me to know about that? What do you want me to know about that? And just sit and let him tell you. And then now, what do you want me to do with that? Maybe it's sit still. Maybe it's do this. Maybe it's do that. God is promises to give us wisdom. He does it in James. He says we should just ask and he will give it to us. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what it says in James is it says that we can't be double minded. Okay. You know what double
That's
minded
true.
is? Double minded is I ask God for wisdom. He gives it to me. And then I want to argue with him about it.
Yeah.
No, God, I don't think that was a good enough answer. God's like, don't be like that. I just gave you good wisdom. Go do it. And so we have to be obedient. So I have never managed to get away from the words of humility and surrender.
I
Those are
love
the
it.
words that he will continue to use with each one of us to turn us into the people that he needs us to be. So don't let discouragement slow you down. Ask him. He'll tell you, he'll show you exactly what you need to be doing.
I love it. One thing, I'm gonna this will be my last remark, but one thing when I was listening to you recently about the double-minded, right? You're right. I love that because we have to be reminded of that. And one thing that I've been learning is double-minded also what I'm taking is that it looks like praying and worrying. You can't pray and surrender it to God and then come back worrying. Where does God, you know what I'm saying? Like where does he fit in that? If I pray, I'm surrendering to him. I'm putting it in his hand. I'm casting my cares upon him. So I
Mhm,
leave it there and trust that everything is going to work out as he promised and as he lay it out for us, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
so that was just something that came to my thought in the process of you responding and answering.
Yeah, and
But
I look at it just so you know, I look at it like it's this big rock that I take and I put at the foot of the cross. Okay. Well, what do you and I like to do? We like to pick these rocks back up and put them
we
back in
do.
our backpack. And it physically weights me down, right? And it
Yeah.
slows me down. And so taking our thoughts captive is grabbing the rock, putting it back at the cross. I love that just that visual that I get with that.
Mhm.
What do I got in this backpack right now? I'm like, give me that. I got to get rid of that. And so I think that that's a great visual. And then it's okay that we default into picking these things back up because
Mhm.
we're learning a new skill. But the
Yeah.
art is okay. I threw it on there. Now I feel it. Let me get it back off, and let me get it off
Mhm.
as fast as I can. And the better we get at that, the faster we can move and we grow and we stretch. And so this is just a skill. And so just think, pull it out of your backpack, put it at the cross. Then I
I
chunk
love
them
it.
back in and I do it again. And I mean, I go when I with the boys and trying to deal with all the grief and everything, we're talking about something I did every few minutes. Okay. And then I learned, oh, I made it an hour before something, and I'm, like, picking it up, throwing it back down, right? And,
Yeah.
so this is just a skill, and this is why God calls us to live in community, because we need people who challenge us, who encourage us, who pull us along and let us live on some of their faith and skill and all that stuff till we kinda master it ourselves. That's why we need community. So I would say that's the next big thing is who are the people that you trust to know who you truly are and will invest in you and want nothing but the best for you.
Yep. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was gonna ask, through everything that you share with us, I know offline we've talked previous to this, and you shared with me how it took a community to
Mhm,
help you.
mhm.
And that's powerful right there is finding the right community that's gonna pick you back up and help you get back
Mhm.
focused on the path you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
That's
and it's not
amazing.
it's not a ton of you need safe people, okay? Because some of us have a lot of trauma in our life. We need safe people that can hear our story and still look in my eyes and see my value and call it out of me, okay? That's not everyone, and it's not a bunch of people, but it is people that you can do that, and the more I tell my story, my trauma story, the more I tell it, the easier it begins to flow out of me and the healing happens. And then it can be used to bring other people along. But you got to find who are the safe people. And if you don't have one or two, then you're going to be in trouble for sure.
Nice. So before we leave, I wanted to give you opportunity to share. Miss Debbie, you guys, is also an author. So I want you to share with us about your book and how do anyone that's looking for your book, how do we find your book? And then share with us anything that you want us to be informed about for your businesses and platform.
Sure. So first of all, if you want to learn more about Anchor Point, you can just go to anchorpoint.us and you can learn a lot about the great ministry that we do. No matter where you are in the country, you could be on our 911 prayer team where you pray for lives when they're struggling with choosing life for the child they carry. That's a wonderful way to be involved with us. Then, if you want to learn more about me, you go to thedebbie.simmons.com and you can follow a lot of the stuff that we're doing there. And I think they have all the social media things that are above my head: Facebook, LinkedIn, all of those good things will be listed there. But my gift to your listeners is my book, The Heart of Legacy. We give that away free as a way to bless people and encourage them. It has the full Debbie's story, the anchor point story. You get to see how God took me as a little girl and kind of did all these cool things through my life to grow me to be where I am. But the really cool thing I like about this book is the whole center section of the book is about how you and I can be focused, faithful, and fearless. And what are some things that we need to do? It gives you wonderful practical tips for how you can do those things and take your walk with Jesus to the next level. And then the end of the book is full of stories of life change of women and families that have been impacted by Anchor Point, and you'll see their journeys. And it's just a wonderful read from that perspective. So you can get the book by going to theheartoflegacy.com and just fill out the stuff and they will send it to you. So that's my blessing. So if you're struggling, you're trying to figure out what it takes to go to the next level, this might be a simple tool to help you get started with that. And we want to help you in your journey for that.
I love it. And here at Listening Every Day, honestly, it has been an honor, Miss Debbie, to share the platform with you. Even meeting you, it's been an honor. And if I may say this, when we were talking, we wound up finding out that she and I are both from the same state. So that was amazing in her story as well, and just connecting. You have an amazing soul, and I love that you've turned your tests and trials into your testimony.
Mm.
And now you're sharing your story from a personal standpoint, putting it implanting it into your business, and you're moving and moving. And I say moving because that's what we have to keep doing, is moving in Christ, like moving forward, taking that leap of faith. And so I am just honored to have this opportunity with you. And we thank you for sharing the platform with us. And we just say that we pray that God continue to prosper you, bless you in everything that you do, even your family, everything that your kids do, and everything like that. We just pray blessings and just believe that everything is going to continue to grow
Mm.
and be a blessing and reach the lives that it's supposed to reach. So thank you, Miss Debbie, for sharing the platform with us today.
Yes, my pleasure.
Thank you.